Gentoo is a trauma bond. I'm going to stand with that opinion like I had in my last video. One of the things, though, that I wanted to take a chance to actually talk about, mainly because I haven't uploaded a video in almost a month, is just kind of going over like where I'm at when it comes to this. I, over the weekend, talked with one of my buddies, Moji, and me and Rob and him went through the process of installing Gentoo. This was a long process. It took several hours, um, and it, over the course of multiple days. That part still is a factor that I think, as you get more comfortable and confident, and you know how to do things a little bit better, it gets easier, right? I don't want to say that Gen 2, I mean, it definitely didn't take me 72 hours to compile OBS. Thank God, because that was a complete nightmare. Moji helped to kind of express some of the things and help me figure out where I was wrong on things. The only thing that I have to say is that because of my technical limitations, at least in my understanding, um, being able to reinstall it by myself is probably not really gonna easily happen. One of the things is that the wiki is cumbersome. Is that a good way to say it? In fact, actually, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the things about this handbook, right? As far as real, as far as like the Arch side of things is concerned, Arch does a lot of heavy lifting. That being said, when you get something like Gentoo installed, you know how to install Gentoo. I I don't want to, tell somebody a complete lie. You don't learn much more about Linux than what you can learn about Linux from doing a Gentoo install, because realistically Gentoo is its own thing. It has the Linux kernel, that's what makes it a Linux, distro, but you gain a lot of information about how Gentoo works. But the first hurdle that I ran into was specifically in the handbook. There are so many options with the handbook. There's a ton of them. They even have things down to Power PC for like old Macs and Motorola powered, you know, well, what would it would be, the just laptops, because I thought they had a few desktops. Regardless, you've got that. So AMD 64 handbook. All right, not a problem. We go in, click on that, and once the page loads, it gives you the installation of Gentoo documentation about Gentoo Linux installation. Introduces you to Gentoo, explains a bit of information there, choosing the media, goes through the whole process of telling you how to do a Gentoo installer, how to make a CD, how to make a USB drive, all of that. It's fantastic, very well documented, very well documented. I will give that to this team completely. It's fantastic. Choosing a network, right? It tells you about how to deal with the networking and all of that with Gentoo. Scroll all the way through, preparing the disks, how to actually set up your hard drives to give you the information that you need. So if we go in here, I'm pretty sure I don't have this F disk. If I can spell it, disk/dev/sda. Oh, permission denied. Let me see, sudo fdisk. All right. And we take a look at partitions, right? So we get how our partition layout is, right? We have this is the Gentoo install. So we have our EFI, system. We have our Linux swap, and then we have the root drive, right? How to put that together, how to associate, what it's supposed to be, all of those details. You learn a lot about how Gentoo works. Now, if you've noticed, I am in not Gentoo to do this, because I went and took a look at the drive that I'm not on. Does that make sense? Yeah, yeah. Um, so, or maybe I didn't make that clear. I'm still working on it. There's a lot of labor of love, and it still goes down to applying to my original statement that I had from the first video, which is Gentoo is a trauma bond. I mean that tongue in cheek. but there's a lot of effort and a lot of respect that goes into the process of Gentoo and how to put the system together and the hours of gaming that you won't be doing with your friends. Um, it just is what it is. The community is well aware of the fact that it takes some time. Once everything gets together, once you understand how the at world file works, I don't. Once you understand how to use emerge, I don't. Once you understand how portage works, I don't. Then you get a little bit closer to, understanding how Gentoo functions. It's not going to teach you much more, though, than how Gentoo is put together because portage, as Moji says, does a lot of the heavy lifting. And portage, if I understand correctly, is the package manager. Here's the thing, because I don't want this to be like a super long, video here. I absolutely love it. It's great. I have a lot of things that I need to do. Like one of the reasons why I'm in here is I'm still trying to figure out how to get OBS and all of that stuff working properly. That's the fun of it, right? For somebody, I do a lot of distro hopping, right? For somebody that does distro hopping, it's a great little play place to be in. I'm not too concerned because I have multiple disks, right? We've got my Arch Linux install and we've got my Gentoo install. If something goes wrong, I can just pop on over here and be like, I'm going to take a break from that for a little bit and I'll figure out a little bit more as I go. I didn't even have to be in the ISO or the live CD environment to install Gentoo. I did from Pico OS. It was simple. Just figuring out how everything works is complicated. And my biggest thing is when it comes down to how I am when it comes to this channel, I'm talking to new users. I still believe that things like Arch Linux are easy for a new user to get into. That depends on the new user. People disagree with me. That's perfectly fine. Join the Discord to have that debate. But when it comes to Gentoo, this is definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, hands down, not the place any new user needs to be. My butt still doesn't understand things. I'm starting to grasp them, right? As Moji has worked through things with me and helped me with it. It's gotten a little bit more, and I'm able to kind of fix some of my errors. But I'm still learning how Gentoo works, and I can play video games, no problem. We were able to set it up to where my graphics card is working just fine and games are running smoothly. But this is a process. The other thing that I have to say, and let me see if I can find it here. So if we scroll down in the wiki, in the handbook, we're going to go to installing and staging because that's going to give us a great example piece for this. OpenRC systemd multi-lib 3264-bit, no multi-lib pure 64-bit, download staging files. And then we get over here and there's a whole buttload of information on which thing you need to do. And if I go through this, like Rust flags, learning how to add flags and everything, like that's pretty simple. I'm looking for a specific word. I'm looking for a very specific word that I need to see. This part confused the hell out of me. Or was it this? Oh, here we go. That's the word, optional. There's a lot of times where things are labeled optional, and I found that they were very necessary for me to do, just to make things a little bit better. I can't think of them off the top of my head because I'm still coming down from the trauma portion. The documentation is great with Gentoo. It's fantastic. It's so fantastic that it gives you every single possible option. And you could wind up installing things that aren't needed or things that would install out of order or things that would break. And it's kind of one of those things where, like, I think it would be better if the wiki or handbook was written as a choose your own adventure game. This is the architecture that I have. This is the graphics card that I have. This is the how many cores I have. And like, okay, now we're going to do this step because it's not meant for the average user. It's not even meant for me. I'm still a complete moron. But it's so nice when you finally remember to add grub, and then install, and then boot into the system, and to see it come to life after painstaking work customizing every single last detail. It really just gives a nice level of polish and pop to that experience. And it's one that I want to keep sitting there and fine tuning and polishing until it's got a nice mirror finish of exactly what I want out of it. And that's going to take a little bit of time. And I'll probably show off the fact that I have the system right now. OBS only records in X264, which is just not viable. It's not a great option. Um, but I'm really happy with it. So to those of you guys that enjoy the trauma bond as much as I have, you know, thanks for those that have helped me. Thanks for the documentation that was put in by the team. I heard that their wiki had been like completely wiped at some point, and I can't imagine having to rebuild everything about it. That shows dedication and complete understanding of the system that you're using. But will Gentoo teach you how to just be the most fantastic Linux person on the planet? No, it'll teach you how to be the best Gentoo user. And that's one of those things that I think when I was first diving into the idea of doing Gentoo, I was kind of oversold. I was sold the concept where it's like, hey, it'll teach you more about Linux. Yeah, well, the most of Linux doesn't have emerge. Get the idea? Most of Linux doesn't have portage. If I did Linux from scratch, I'd probably shoot myself. Because it's just, yeah, that'd just literally be shooting myself in the foot, because I would have to compile so much, and the amount of time and energy that was put into it, unless I had a ton of subscribers that were sitting there watching that type of video, it just would not be worthwhile, because it wouldn't give enough people joy and entertainment to do a video like that. But yeah, this is my thoughts on it. Go install Gentoo, or don't. You know, there's some great options out there. There's Ubuntu. Wait, no. There's Arch. Yeah. There's Fedora. There's PeakOS. Use one of those. Also, it's hilarious inside of the Gentoo Reddit, the Gentoo subreddit. People coming in and saying, "I run Gentoo, by the way." I thought it would be funny to go in, just like apparently a ton of people have. That is not a thing. Please stop saying that. I see it for the cringe that it is. Keep that on Arch. All right, I'm gonna go put on my maid's outfit. You guys have a great one. All right.